Hello everyone. My name is Jungwook Rhim. Today I am going to present our study on using geometric features of drag and drop trajectories to understand students' learning. This study was done with Jiwon Kim and Gahgene from Seoul National University. Trajectory data has been used to capture students' learning, such as guessing behavior and learning achievement. The trajectory is a movement path produced when a user operates an interface, such as using a touch gesture on a touch screen or using a mouse on a computer. In a decision-making context, PSD has been inferred by using geometric features of trajectory. PSD stands for the psychological state of decision difficulty. It is a mental state in which a decision-maker faces difficulty while choosing between multiple options. For example, in the business and psychological domain, trajectory data have been used to infer decision-makers' PSD in the context of gambling or consumer choice. And the PSD may occur because of the decision context, such as the risk of the options, information uncertainty, and the trade-off dilemma. So, we applied this idea to the educational context. By using geometric features of trajectory data, we aim to understand students' PSD in the learning context. Capturing the PSD using trajectory data would help understand students' difficulties with problem solving. Thus, we collected trajectory when users input an answer in drag-and-drop math games. And then, we calculated the geometric features of trajectory to capture students' PSD during problem solving. This approach is cost-effective and non-invasive compared to human observation. That is because the trajectory can be collected from devices that students are already using in the educational process. We conducted 2 studies. In Study 1, we explored whether geometric features could be grouped to understand students' PSD. In Study 2, we examined how PSD is related to learning. For Study 1, we collected geometric features of trajectory related to PSD in the decision-making context. Then we performed exploratory factor analysis to derive the PSD that can be observed in the educational context as a factor. And for each factor, the psychological meaning in the educational context was interpreted referring to the existing literature. For Study 2, we investigated how the derived PSD was related to 2 aspects of learning, guessing behavior and learning achievement. For this purpose, correlation analysis and machine learning were performed. In Study 1, we grouped geometric features of trajectory data to get intuitive and comprehensible PSD factors in the context of education. To this end, we collected about 97,000 trajectory logs of 187 students aged 7 to 10. And we also calculated 8 geometric features from trajectory logs. By conducting exploratory factor analysis, we showed that geometric features could be grouped to acquire 2 interpretable PSDs. The first factor is labeled conflict. The second factor is labeled uncertainty. We could infer the psychological meaning of PSDs based on the decision-making literature. Decision conflict is known to occur when a person concerns about the result of decision-making. Such a decision conflict arises when a reward or penalty is expected. Applying this concept to the educational context, we define the conflict that decision difficulty occurs when a student values the result of problem solving. Thus, understanding the level of conflict can provide teachers with information on how much a learner concerns the problem-solving results. And decision uncertainty occurs when a person is confused between candidate options. In an educational context, such uncertainty can arise when a student is confused about which of the options is the correct answer. And if teachers can capture students' uncertainty, they can understand the area in which students encounter difficulty. Extending the results of Study 1, we investigated whether students' learning could be predicted using the 2 PSDs related geometric features in Study 2. Specifically, we analyzed guessing behavior and learning achievement. Guessing behavior is solving a problem using a system's traits without investing in learning effort. Firstly, the results showed negative correlations between PSDs and students' guessing behavior ratio. Also, we observed positive correlations between PSDs and learning achievement. Previous studies have proposed the relationship between students' psychological states and learning, such as frustration and guessing behavior. This study extends the results of the previous studies by showing how conflict and uncertainty in problem solving are associated with learning. Secondly, we conducted an ML analysis. In our study, ML models for predicting learning using PSDs related geometric features showed a lower prediction error than the baseline model. Using the PSDs related geometric features, we trained 4 different ML algorithms. In specific, we trained full regression, coefficient adjustment regression, feature selection regression, and tree-based model. We compared prediction errors between the 4ML and the baseline models when predicting students' guessing behavior ratio and learning achievement. As shown in the table, the tree-based regression model, which is our best performing model, can significantly reduce prediction error compared to the baseline model. This result implies that using the PSDs related geometric features can help predict learning. From the results of correlation and ML analysis, we discussed the implications of each result. Let me introduce some of the discussion points. First, we could understand PSDs in relation to learning. For example, we found that students tend to engage in guessing behavior more often with increasing psychological difficulties. And our study also showed that a negative relationship between task difficulty and performance could be observed from drag-and-drop trajectory data alone. Secondly, we discussed the advantage of using PSD-related geometric features when predicting learning. That is, this approach can improve the model's explainability. The explainability of a predictive model is defined as the ability to explain the prediction model in terms that a human could understand. When using individual features that only have geometric meanings, interpreting the role of such features in the context of learning is difficult. In contrast, our proposed method can enhance the prediction model's explainability. That is because the psychological meaning of PSD's related features can be understood, which can help to interpret ML models more intuitively. And we also suggested design implications for using PSDs for tailored intervention in a learning system. Here, we propose an example scenario and design strategies. Students who provided the correct answer but showed high level of PSDs were still facing difficulties even though they solved the problem. In this case, a learning system can give students repeated exercises. However, for students who provide a correct answer with a low level of PSD, providing more challenging questions is suggested, as they solve the problem without difficulty. In this study, by building on existing research on the application of trajectory data, we aim to understand how students' PSD relates to 2 aspects of learning: guessing behavior and learning achievement. The key contributions of this work are twofold. First, we presented empirical evidence on grouping geometric features of drag-and-drop trajectory data to categorize 2 types of PSD in the context of learning. Secondly, we proposed that PSD's related geometric features can be utilized to predict learning. In future studies, a more diverse setting should be considered. This study only analyzed drag-and-drop interface games. However, in addition to drag-and-drop, touch devices allow different types of touchscreen interactions, such as tapping, pinching, and sliding. The psychological state that can be inferred by analyzing such interactions may also differ, because different types of interactions have distinct functions and purposes. There are many other interesting findings and details in the paper. I encourage the audience to read it for more detail. Thank you very much for listening.